Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to give this state-of-the-art lectures, and I will thank Patrick Marcelin for his invitation. So my talk today will deal with pathology of NAFLD-NASH revisited. As introduction, as you may know, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease represents the hepatic manifestation of metabolic syndrome, and accordingly, pathology plays a key role in that context. And this role is growing since the prevalence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease continuously increasing, while prevalence of other chronic liver disease remains stable or even decrease. What is NAFLD for the general pathologist? First, the hepatic accumulation, defined steatosis, is a prerequisite for this diagnosis. Second, two main pathologically distinct conditions are recognized: NAFLD for steatosis and NASH for steatohepatitis. Third, NASH defines a wide spectrum of disease severity that may lead to fibrosis, cirrhosis, and development of hepatocellular carcinoma. And last, the liver biopsy is still required for the diagnosis of non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. And indeed, liver biopsy remains a reference standard for the diagnosis of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, as it allows the diagnosis of NASH in a glance, showing all the elementary features diagnosis for this disease, meaning presence of steatosis, lobular inflammation, and presence of hepatocellular ballooning. But the biopsies allows also to assess the prognosis of the disease by assessing the extent of fibrosis. In addition to confirm the diagnosis of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, the liver biopsy may also help to assess the severity of the disease in terms of activity and stage, but also help to identify potential comorbidity risk factors, help to support the inclusion in clinical trials, and at last, help to evaluate the treatment response. So my topic today is the pathology of NAFLD-NASH revisited, but I have to stress that it has been already greatly revisited. And the story started in 1980 with Jürgen Ludwig, which defines non-alcoholic steatohepatitis as an acute alcoholic hepatitis-like. Then, in 1999, Elizabeth Brunt proposed a grading and staging system for non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. In 2005, the NASH CRN developed a NAS score, which was primarily designed for use in clinical trials. NAS is an unweighted score, including steatosis, lobular inflammation, and ballooning. And the stage of fibrosis was a 4-scale system. Then in 2012, Pierre Bedossa and the FLIP consortium proposed the SAF score that can be used as a diagnostic algorithm. And the more important thing in this new scoring system is that activity is only based on lobular inflammation and ballooning, and steatosis is no more including in the grading activity. So what can we do now? For sure, we are facing with several challenges still yet, some endless and some new challenges. And today, I would like to briefly discuss these challenges. We will start with the adequacy of the biopsy, which I remind you represents only a very minor part of the liver, and also that this exam is an operator-dependent invasive exam. And you all agree with this recommendation of the liver biopsy: use needle over wedge biopsy. To reduce sampling errors, use larger gauge needles, and so on. But I would like to briefly comment on the adequacy of the liver biopsy and remind you that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a zonal disease, starting and predominating in the centrolobular areas, in zone 3 areas. And this supports that the issue of the sampling variability may be probably weakened and compared to other chronic liver disease. And probably the report of the number of centrolobular veins would be more informative in the context of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The second comment is in regards of the severity of the disease, which we know is highly heterogeneous. And then for the pathologist, it's really important to analyze serial sections with different stainings. I would like also to stress that maybe it's time to revisit the dogma on the size of liver biopsy, which is the longer, the better, that we use for all chronic liver disease. And maybe we have to leave this dogma to adopt a new one, which will be the less injured, the more sampled. What about observer variability? We know that there is intra and inter-observer variability, and all papers clearly demonstrated that this variability was strictly dependent to the morphological features, and usually we observe a higher reproducibility rates for fibrosis and steatosis compared to ballooning and lobular inflammation. I would like to show you this recent study focusing on the reliability of hepatopathologist reading in the concept of clinical trial. For instance, regarding intra-reader agreement, you can see that the concordance was fair to moderate. But more importantly, they report that the rereading scores were systematically lower compared to the baseline scores, suggesting the potential pressure for enrollment from the clinician toward the pathologist. Now, regarding inter-reader agreement, you can see that the rates are above the same, and overall, they report that the full agreement between the three pathologists for qualifying patients was achieved in about half of cases. And this supports the need for developing more objective features. One of them is the loss of cytokeratin 8-18, which has been shown to be an objective marker of hepatocyte injury and allows a more accurate classification of NAFLD cases. However, I would like to stress that these features of loss of cytokeratin 8 and 18 is not specific features of NAFLD. It is also observed in alcoholic liver disease, but also in chronic cholestasis, and in the context of transplantation in ischemic reperfusion liver graft. Digital pathology is also an alternative tool that will allow to shift from a semi-quantitative and subjective analysis to a quantitative and objective analysis. So you will be more objective, ruling out the pathologist's subjectivity, but you will also be more accurate and more sensitive since you provide a very quantitative analysis. And then it will allows a better assessment of more subtle changes, a faster detection of treatment benefit, and also a further characterization of phenotypical traits of fibrosis. Such digital pathology paved the way for machine learning image-based approach that will be able to recognize elementary morphological features from routine stain slide. I would like to show you these two recent studies using machine learning approach. And in brief, they report moderate to strong correlations between semi-quantitative and quantitative analysis. The paper from Forlano clearly show an overestimation of steatosis by the pathologist, raising the issue of the real reliability of quantitative pathologic assessments compared to non-invasive tools, for instance. They also report that fibrosis stage increase follows an exponential fashion. And that is very important since the meaning of one stage variation should be interpreted according to the extent of fibrosis. And at last, both studies demonstrate the prognostic utility and the potential of these machine learning approaches to monitor response to therapy. Alternative quantitative approach have been also developed, including dual photon imaging microscopy. This microscopy can be performed on unstained formalin fixed routine slides using a dedicated equipment. It's very interesting because it can provide an automated quantification of a large panel of fibrosis parameters in terms of collagen distribution, morphology, and location. And several papers already used this technology, and they were able to report numerical fibrosis system scoring based on specific parameters of texture and morphology of collagens. They also described specific patterns of fibrosis in adult and pediatric patients. And importantly, such approach may be applied to the assessment of steatosis. What about new channels? First one, can we improve NASH stratification? I would like to start with the perisinusoidal fibrosis. Indeed, a significant number in routine of liver biopsy will show lobular inflammations, steatosis, and perisinusoidal fibrosis as shown here, without any evident hepatocellular ballooning. But this pattern is not enough for a definite diagnosis of NASH. Why not? We know that NAFLD is a dynamic process with early development of perisinusoidal fibrosis. And fibrosis is considered as a consequence of disease activity. And then perisinusoidal fibrosis is an early marker of aggressive disease triggered by lobular inflammation and ballooning. So maybe we have to consider perisinusoidal fibrosis in the diagnosis of steatohepatitis. And this is also supported by the fact that hepatocellular ballooning is a poor reproducible feature, as we have already discussed, and we don't know really the fate of this hepatocellular ballooning. And I would like to stress that already in some classification, perisinusoidal fibrosis has been included for the diagnosis of NASH. What about portal inflammation? Portal inflammation, in that paper published by Elizabeth Brunt in 2009, reported that this inflammation was graded more than mild in 23% of adult patients. And this portal inflammation was correlated with features of progressive disease, including clinical features, definite diagnosis of NASH, and also advanced fibrosis. More recently, a paper from the NASH CRN reported the result of a prospective cohort sub-study to evaluate histological evolution and factors associated with changes over time. And they clearly showed that portal inflammation was associated with progression and regression changes. And just to remember, in the first grading system proposed by Elizabeth Brunt in 1999, portal chronic inflammation was included in this grading system. The last challenge I would like to briefly discuss is about fibrosis staging system. We know that fibrosis staging is the most relevant histological endpoint in patients with NAFLD. We use a scoring system from 0 to 4 for cirrhosis, and all studies clearly demonstrated that staging is a robust item with very low inter-observer variability. However, we know that this scoring system lacks of granularity, and especially, for instance, in stage 3, as you can see on the left, the presence of few bridging, and on the right, the presence of more bridging septa, but both of biopsy will be staged as F3. And then the FLIP consortium developed a proposal to increase the granularity of fibrosis staging system with subdividing F3 into 3 and 4, and cirrhosis F4 into 5 and 6. So my take-home message are the following. First, NASH diagnosis is still based on histology, and then the liver biopsy remains the reference standard, allowing the diagnosis assessment, grading, and staging of the disease. And it's also required up to now for patient eligibility and drug evaluation in phase 3 clinical trials. However, liver biopsy is still challenging with sampling variability, which is a main issue, but I think that the impact of such sampling variability is really dependent to the severity of the disease. Regarding observer reproducibility, we have now very accurate and reproducible quantitative computerized approaches that have been developed with really encouraging and promising results. And just to finish, maybe our further step of revisiting will be to refine definition, grading, and staging in order to better identify patients with NASH for prognostic and theranostic issue. And for that, maybe we have to include additional morphological features in our pathological classification. And I will thank you for your attention.